Okay, so hi everyone. On behalf of the entire DSC IIIT Kalyani team, um, I would like to be invite you to this amazing opening session, which we have organized, and we have like very interesting speakers as well. So they will be joining us in a very short time. So till then, a small introduction on what Winter of Code is. So we all know how amazing the open source community is and how helpful it is. So sometimes it happens that when you're in first and second year, you like are getting to know a lot of technologies and have just started learning stuff, and you would also like to use your expertise in building interesting projects which also could go to open source and help out a lot of other people. So for this we have Winter of Code. So we pair up students with a mentor of their we give them a mentor who knows who is experienced in certain technical stack, and we pair the students up who want to learn the same technical stack. So either the mentor has an existing open source project that he would like contributions to, you could do it, you could solve their issues, you could add new features. That's what you could do. And that is when there is an existing project. And if there's if you are just getting started and if you have some interesting idea, the mentor will tell you how to get started with it and what are the courses you need to do, what you need to learn, and will help you with a lot of resources. So this is what Winter of Code is. It will go on for 1.5 months. So in today's 17, so from 18 to 20 you'll be getting to know your mentors, and you'll be brainstorming on ideas if you are looking for a new project idea, or you'll be getting to know their project code bases in case their open source projects already exist. So that's what will happen in the next few days, and then you'll start coding under the guidance of the mentors. And finally, you will be demoing all these projects in March to all of your community and the audience. So that's what you're going to do. And Eddie is going to join us in some time. So um, is he here? Okay, so did I guess? Okay, so Shovik, I guess we can get the thing added, right? Yeah, so a brief introduction about myself. It's that I'm like the lead at DSC IIIT Kalyani. I'm Shomi. So okay, so let's have yeah. Hi,
Hi.
great to have you here. So we have Eddie Jaoude with us, who is a YouTuber and he's also the GitHub Star of the Year. So great to see you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I'm really looking forward to geeking out with you all.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. So let's get started. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
So
Shall
we,
I go ahead? Okay, brilliant.
yes.
Okay. So I do have a talk prepared, and it's like an hour long, and I haven't got that long. So my goal with all of you today is to go quite fast over some of the topics, and I'm really excited to see what questions you have. I love the Q&A. So for those of you who know me, I love the Q&A part, and do ask questions as we go along. Put a Q in front of your question in the chat, so hopefully I can see it. If I miss it, then later on do copy and paste it back in, and I do apologize in advance. So I'm super excited. We're going to get you all accelerating your careers faster. So with open source, it is the key to everything. My success, that everything I have achieved is down to open source. And my biggest regret is not starting open source sooner. So let me just tell you what we're gonna cover today. So we're going to talk about what is open source and GitHub. We're going to talk about why you should care, how it can accelerate your career to learn faster so you can get the jobs, clients, and money that you deserve. Hopefully we get time to do some git commit commands, the useful commands that are used all the time, not the obscure ones that you use occasionally, cherry pick and all these fancy ones. I would like to go over some of the commands that you use to contribute to open source when you create a fork and all sorts. So hopefully we get time for that. And like I said, questions are really important. But all of you, if you can do me a favor, and we're going to talk a lot through this talk about adding value. And one thing you can do is add value to this event by asking awesome questions, but also by taking a screenshot, tagging the event, tagging me, and sharing on socials, and add one thing that you learned or enjoyed about the event. That gives the event more publicity, and also gives you more publicity, because if you add value on the post, then the event and myself will reshare it, and then our network will discover you as well. A little bit about me, keep this very short and quick. I've been a developer for over 15 years, been full stack, passionate about open source and getting more people into tech. I've been doing open source for over 10 years. Again, like I said, I wish I started sooner, but when I started, there was no GitHub, there was no Git. It was very much more complicated. Different projects had their own servers. You had to get your own SSH keys to get to those servers, and it was quite hard, and signing lots of documents and so forth. I love sharing my knowledge on YouTube and social platforms. And again, I started that about 3 years ago, and I wish I started that sooner. So I want to encourage you all today to share what you learn. If you've learned something new, like today on this call, or you know, I don't know, from a friend, or you've been working with a problem and you solve it, share it on Twitter, share it on a blog post, share it on YouTube, whatever works for you. Definitely share it. It'll help you build up your personal brand. So my goal is to get more people into open source, not just more people, more diversity into open source. Having a different perspective and views is really, really helpful. The hackathons that I have won where we've had a diverse mix of people from different backgrounds, different experience. Don't try and get one mentor, because you'd only get one point of view. Everyone you speak to, everyone here in the chat is your mentor. If someone asks a question and you think you know the answer, then just share your opinion, your thoughts. It doesn't have to be right. I guarantee you, not all my answers are right, but they're from my experience, and they're what I think are right today, and I might change my point of view in a few days' time. So let's get started. Right, let's introduce you to open source. I can see the chat going quite fast, so if I miss anything, I will try and look occasionally at the chat. Right, so let's get started. Open source. So for those of you who don't know what open source is, it is social coding. And it's like, I'm going to take Instagram as an example. On Instagram, you post a picture, you like a photo, you put a comment, etc. And GitHub is very, very similar. But yes, you know what I'm going to say. It's like that, but on steroids. Because not only can you do those sorts of things, not only can you like someone's code, not only can you star someone's project, all those sorts of things, but you can also then fork a project and you can contribute back, or even take the project in a different direction, which does happen. And so you can do so much more. And it is not just about code. One thing I've learned over the years, the more and more I've been in open source, is it is actually not about code. One thing that we've learned this week at the MLH Local Hack Day Hackathon with our Eddie Hub guild is actually more about collaboration and communication. And that's first. And then second is the code. So for example, if you do want to contribute to someone's project, the first thing you normally do, you don't always do this, but normally you would raise an issue to start the conversation. And you would say that I've found this bug, or I've got this idea for a feature. And you start the conversation with the maintainers and with the organizers. Sorry, with the maintainers and with the community. And then from that, you'd have a discussion, and then you would start doing some code. But after you've done the code, committed it, pushed it up, raised a pull request, then again, the communication and collaboration continues. So now the issue is to start the conversation before work is done, and the pull request is to start the conversation after the changes have been done. And then more conversation, more changes usually follow. So you'll notice that the coding part is actually quite small. And even if you have a pull request with, I don't know, a few files changes, a lot of those won't just be code. There'll be documentation. There'll be automated testing. There'll be so much to it. And I'm not trying to put you off. I'm just trying to say that coding is really important, and I love coding. But open source is not just about coding. Yes, it might have started off that way, but it's definitely changed over the years, and it's going in the right direction. And you're going to help guide that direction as well. But why should you care about open source? So open source, you might think, well, I use all these open source projects. Big companies pay for them, which they don't a lot of the time. So when you do submit an issue or a pull request, be patient with people. A lot of these people actually are doing this in their spare time on the side in addition to their job. Some people do get paid to do it though. And we'll get into that in a second. But what I want to say is that you will learn so much by getting involved in open source, because not only your technical skills will improve because you get feedback from so many different people, different points of views, but also you will. So I'm looking at the chat, getting distracted. It's awesome to have all these great messages in the chat. You think I'd be used to this after like 3 years? Yeah, but it's not just about your technical skills that you're going to learn. It's also about your communication skills. I guarantee you the first issue that you raise, which will get you a green square on your activity board, and I'm going to share my screen shortly to show you some more, that you raise an issue. It won't be a good issue. You'll probably just have a title with a few words, and it will make sense to you, but won't make sense to anybody else. And people will ask questions and so on. I guarantee you your 10th issue will be so much better than the first. You will then probably have a few more lines in the description, maybe a screenshot, maybe some bullet points, maybe a checklist. And this is where learning Markdown is really important. And it's only about 6 different Markdown, or 6 or 8 different Markdown. And again, we can have a look at that later on if we get time, and if that's something you want to see, that you need. And it will make your issue and your pull request stand out, or your comment. Markdown is used everywhere on GitHub. I'm really keen to show you some of the features on GitHub to organize your work as well. As well as learning the technical skills, communication skills, you're going to grow your network, because again, it's social coding, it's a social platform. You're really going to grow your network. People are going to discover you. So it's really important to actually have the same name on GitHub, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the platforms, even YouTube. You're writing in the chat now, and I think that's awesome. But if you have a different name on different platforms, it's really hard for people to recognize that you're the same person. So imagine your CV ended up on my desk from a recruiter or from HR, and I recognize your name because I saw it on a YouTube chat where you asked a really good question, or you did a really good tweet, or you added value to someone's open source project. All that goes for anybody else. Then they're going to say, oh, this person, look at them first. You're going to go to the top of the list, and you're going to be on that person's mind because they recognize your name. So it's good to have that consistency across all the different platforms. I know some people like all these cool, funky names, but it's actually really good just to have your name. It might be an abbreviation or a nickname, but have it consistent. So you will grow your network, and don't also just think about it about contributing to open source. It's also about being a project maintainer. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, I'm new to tech, or I'm new to open source. How can I become a project maintainer? If you've customized your GitHub profile, again, I'll show you mine shortly, then that's an open source repo. You are then a project maintainer. You might not be getting a lot of contributions to your project, but I see lots of great questions in the chat. I am going to get to those. Remember, prepend them with a Q, but just a Q dot and then your question, so it stands out a lot more, and other people do jump in and answer those. It is, what was I saying? Yes, you are a project maintainer by having your own customized repo. So I might make an idea, make a contribution, and you will learn different skills, because when people raise issues and pull requests that aren't very clear, or they've maybe changed one line of code in the pull request, but then reformatted the rest of the file, and it's really hard to see what changed, you'll understand the pain points of being a project maintainer. And so, you will then improve the way you raise issues, the way you communicate with people. That is really, really important. And if you grow your network on GitHub, and actually not all of my client offers, job offers, all I get through GitHub. So wouldn't it be great if you're looking for an internship, looking for your first job, your second job, your 10th job, to get people to come to you rather than you have to chase after companies. And if you chase after companies, at least you'll stand out. You have an active GitHub, and hopefully they'll recognize your name from socials. Before I move on, I want to have a look at some of this chat, because I do see lots of great questions. Let me try and scroll up a bit. I will do Q&A at the end, but I don't want to miss any of these great questions. Thank you all for doing this. Let me see. Yeah, Siddharth saying Eddie loves questions, so bring them in. Exactly. I do get distracted with questions, so hopefully I don't spend too long on it. We'll definitely time box it. Is it possible? So we got a question here. Hopefully I haven't missed any. Tathagata, hopefully I pronounced it right. Is it possible to build a career based on open source only? Open source has been the foundation to all my success. So it does take time. It is a marathon, not a sprint. So you don't think you're going to contribute to open source like this weekend, 100 commits, and it's on Monday morning you're going to have loads of job offers and all the rest. That doesn't work like that. It needs to be done over time. It takes months and years. But if you don't worry about that, if you look at it each day, if you try and add a bit of value to your project or somebody else's project, get involved in the conversation on Discord, which will then lead to conversation on GitHub, then over time, over a month, over a year, your project will move so much faster. Your GitHub profile will be really active, and you'll slowly start getting discovered. So that's why you should start as soon as possible. And like I said, it's not just about committing pull requests. If someone raises an issue on a project, it's a bug. Can you verify that the bug, you get the same issue with a different browser version or the same browser version or the same node version, whatever it is? Add value to that. So that's really, really important. Adding value is just the most important thing. It's not about making noise and trying to say, hey, I'm here, look at me. It's about adding value, and then the benefits will come later. Let's have a look. ViViV, how did open source work with private servers and SH keys back then? Wow, that's a blast from the past. You have to sign a lot of forms. Well, maybe we'll talk about it another time. I don't want to get distracted on that, but it was painful, definitely. Aha, we've got a queue in it stands out. Lovely. Talk more about your developer relations work if time permits. That's actually a really good question. I'd like to touch on that now, and that's from Anu Have. Hopefully I pronounced that right. I think everyone in tech is in DevRel, even just a little bit. Because if you're tweeting on socials, I'm going to this event, or I'm taking part in this hackathon, or I had a great live stream with Eddie, or I learned this, or whatever it is, then you're effectively kind of in DevRel. DevRel is, developer relations, developer advocacy. You're not just doing the coding, you're sharing kind of what you learned, your journey, your adventures. And so, yes, there are people who DevRel as a job, and that's like 100% of what they do. But I think everyone has got like a dipping a toe in that water, because most people are usually on LinkedIn or Twitter and doing some posts on there. And I wouldn't count Instagram posts too much into that, because usually it's just kind of like a selfie, which is kind of fun to see sometimes. And I do post those on Twitter too, but it's more about adding value. So I do have those fun ones, but then have ones that add value. So I think everyone's in there. And I think more people are going that way because more people want to stand out. And so, yeah, I think everyone's in there. So hopefully that kind of answers that question. Some people are a lot further. Some people do blog posts every week, live streams every week, and that's great. And it takes time for people to build up to that. It took me a lot of time to build up to that. So it really, really did. But it's just practice. That's like with anything. Practice your code, you practice your public speaking, you practice your everything. Just practice, practice, practice. How much time? So, Ayush, I hope I pronounced that right. How much time do you do coding in your entire day? I mean, it varies. Some days I want to sit down and try and do 4 hours of coding, but it's very rare. Sometimes I do 8 hours, but it is very rare. Usually it's probably half the day, because there are calls going on. We're doing planning. I'm responding to GitHub notifications. I'm really sorry. I'm so behind in my GitHub notifications. I think I'm 5 days behind in my GitHub notifications, and I've got 600 notifications to go through. So it's very small. I think as you get more experience, you probably code less because you communicate more. I'm interested to hear everyone's thoughts on that. I love this question. Can I still participate and help in open source without a solid coding skills? Anubav, I hope I pronounced that right. Yes, absolutely. I love that. So it is so important to get involved in open source, not when you're ready, when you're, got more experience. Get involved even before you start coding, because you will learn so much faster from other people. And don't wait for the perfect project. You will find other projects as you just get involved in the conversation. Your friends will share projects that they're working on, that they're looking at, that they're using, and it will just snowball from there. So don't wait for the perfect project. Don't wait to get the most advanced experience or whatever you want to think of it as. Just start literally today. And the more value you add to a project or a community, the more people will help you. If you jump into a community or a project and say, hey, I want to do this, why don't we pair and you help me do it? It's unlikely, because you might just do that piece of work, and a lot of people put a lot of effort in to help you do it, and then you disappear off, which is fine if you disappear off. It's not a problem. It does happen, but people won't spend too much time with you and invest time in you until they know you're dedicated to that project, to that community. So I would look around, try and get involved in the conversation, add value. And the more value you add, then the people will realize how dedicated you are and will help you more and more and more. So I've just seen so many amazing stories of people get involved in projects and help out with your fresh pair of eyes helps on a project. Try people's quick starts. Does it make sense to you? Does it work? Is there anything missing that you can, add to that documentation? And if you keep adding value, then other people will really want to help you so you can add more value. And I hear so many amazing stories of people getting jobs and getting paid to contribute to those open source projects. So I cannot recommend that enough. Someone's asking about, I lost it, chat jumped a bit. Something about Satyan, can you talk about your brief different milestones on your way to GitHub Star of the Year? GitHub Star of the Year was super surprise for me. I was, so shocked and completely honored. I've actually got a reaction video, real-time reaction video on my YouTube channel, because when they were announcing it, I hit record and I thought I'd record myself. But just contribute to open source and add value to the community. It's not about, green squares are great, but it's not just about the green squares. That is the first impression that people get. That's why it's good to have those green squares on your profile. But it's about adding value and other people recommending you and suggesting, your name and all the rest, saying, oh, you should follow this person. Look at this blog post this person wrote. Look at this great tweet that they did. So just keep adding value. It all comes down to open source, community, and adding value. Really, that's what it comes down to. If you can do a little bit of those every day, you will be set. You'll become a GitHub star for sure. So definitely do that. Okay, I might have to take a pause on questions. I do want to get more. I love these questions; they're awesome. Let me just go into the next section here. So, I want to talk a bit about making money from open source, because people think, oh, I'll just watch Netflix for the whole weekend and I won't do open source because it's not really going to benefit you. So I talked about how it can benefit you from learning, accelerating your career, getting your name out there. You can also make money from it. I have GitHub sponsors. So I do have GitHub sponsors who sponsor me between, I don't know, $1 and $25 a month every month. And my GitHub sponsors are awesome. And, you can get GitHub sponsors too. So I definitely recommend applying for it. It might not be available in your country yet, but still apply for it so it notifies you when it's available. And also, the more people they get in that country, the more likely they'll prioritize it with the list of countries. I think it's available in like 35 countries now. And, if you contribute to a project regularly, someone's going to say, this person's doing awesome. It doesn't have to be code. Remember that. Adding value could be translation. It could be documentation. It could be automated testing. So many things that they're going to sponsor you. And when you start getting, one sponsor, two sponsors, 10 sponsors, it does add up. Imagine having 10 sponsors a month, giving you $10 a month. That's like $100 a month just for doing what you love. So that's one way. Another way is all my clients, as I mentioned before, all the job offers I get are because of my open source contributions. My LinkedIn profile is reduced and reduced. I make it smaller and smaller all the time because I get more spam from LinkedIn. And it's good to have a LinkedIn presence. I'm not saying it isn't, but you could write whatever you want in your LinkedIn profile. It doesn't actually mean anything. Whereas on your GitHub profile, it's got timestamped of what you've done, your collaboration you've done. And remember, when I'm hiring people for my clients' projects or for my projects, I'm not looking at your latest code. Is it the best? Is it the best code? I'm not. I know everyone thinks that, but I'm not. I'm actually looking at your latest code in comparison to your code 3 months ago. Is your code now better than it was 3 months ago? That's really important. Are you learning? So I know that, if you do get hired, then in a month's time, your code is going to be even better and you want to learn. And more importantly, I'm actually looking for how you communicate with people. Do you review people's pull requests? Do you, raise good issues? Do you reply to issues? How do you collaborate? That's more important. Having the right attitude is more important, because you can't teach someone the right attitude, but you can teach someone the technical skills. And so you need to show that. And so if you're involved in some projects, you might not be the project maintainer on them, but do review pull requests and give your opinion and give your feedback. And you can approve pull requests still, even if you're not a project maintainer. It won't get the massive green tick at the bottom, but you'll still get a green tick in the timeline saying, Eddie Jaoude approved this pull request. It'll still need to be approved by a project maintainer, but you're just getting on people's radar and adding value. Don't go around approving lots of pull requests. Ask questions. Does something not make sense? And if you're new to tech and something doesn't make sense and someone's written a really clever, complicated line of code, ask, can this be written a bit, clearer? Because it's not always about making it shorter, less lines of code. It is about readability more for onboarding people onto the project. So that's really, really important. So yes, I mentioned direct money from GitHub sponsors. Indirect money is from getting jobs and client work. And at the beginning, it will help you find jobs, and later on, it will help jobs find you. So I also mentioned don't do 100 hours in one weekend. You've got to spread it out little and often. And those of you who know me, I'll use an analogy now. It's like brushing your teeth. You do a little every day, and you don't worry about it. You don't wake up in the morning or before you go to bed go, oh my God, brush my teeth today. What an effort. Just get up and you just do it. It's just done. It's just routine, and you don't worry about it. And if you miss a day because you fell asleep in front of the TV or whatever it is, your teeth aren't going to go yellow, they're not going to go black, they're not going to fall out. So in the micro, it's important to do it, but you don't worry about it. But in the macro, over a month, over the years, your teeth remain really healthy. And the same with open source. Don't think about today I must contribute to open source. Just go and add value, get involved in the conversation. And over a month and over the years, the benefit is enormous. I cannot stress that enough. Like I said, you're all maintainers. You'll learn different skills by being maintainers as well. Okay, so I'm looking back at some of the chat. I want to get onto GitHub shortly, and I see the clock ticking away. Okay, here's another question. ViV says, should one really clean up their GitHub? By clean up, I mean, should we discuss old repos having bad code? No, leave them in. Don't wait until a project is perfect to share it. Share it from the beginning. You're more likely to get help on contributors because they want to jump on the journey with you. And your old projects, I have so many old projects on my GitHub account, and I'm really embarrassed by a lot of them. But that's where I was, that time 6 years ago, 10 years ago, whenever it was. And it shows the journey that you went on. Do not clear anything up. Definitely have those there. Do archive projects if you don't want contributions to them. You don't want to waste time in discussions of people making pull requests or issues and you saying, look, I'm not maintaining this project anymore. So you can archive it so it's read only, but do keep the projects there. I highly recommend that. And I highly recommend on your projects using the issues, using the project boards, using GitHub Actions. And we're going to jump into that in a second. I do want to share my screen and get a bit technical with you all. I'm a fresher. Which type of project should I contribute to? That was my next section. So let's answer that. Contribute to any project that you're interested in. You could be interested in the project because your friends on the project. You could be interested in the project because the goal of the project is like tech for good or whatever it is. You're interested in that. It could be because of the technology that you're interested in. It doesn't matter as long as you're interested in that project, because it'll be less of a chore. It'll be less of an issue if you're passionate about that project. If you can tick more of those boxes, if you can have it that you like the tech, you like the goal of the project, and your friends are on there too, or your new friends that you've made, then that's great. You'll be more passionate about doing that, and you'll do it without worrying about it so much. So I wouldn't worry about trying to find the perfect project. Find one that you're passionate about, and the way you can do it is different ways. I mentioned seeing what your friends are contributing to on Twitter. Follow people on GitHub. You have social platform. You can follow people, see what projects they're contributing to, and starring all the rest. But also, if you go to, let me just share my screen and do this on the screen real quick. Let's have a look. Let's share some GitHub goodness. So if we click our fingers, I should better share my screen. Oh, let's make that a bit bigger. That's quite small. Okay, how's that, everyone? Remember, you can follow people. I've got 1.8 thousand followers, and you can follow people and to see what they're up to. And so what I want to show you is if you go to the issues right at the top, then it shows you your issues that are assigned to you. But you can clear all this search, and then you can actually filter by a label. Well, I can't spell label. You can filter by a label, like good first issue, and then you can filter by a language. And if you look at the results now, it will actually show you repos across the platform. And then you can even filter by extra labels, extra languages if you want. And you might find a project. It says help wanted, good first issue. It's JavaScript. Let's click on it and have a look. I don't know this project. I don't know, who they are, anything about it. And do have a look. Do they have a code of conduct? You can actually go to the Insights tab, and then you can go to the community link on the left. And look, they have a description, they have a README, they have a code of conduct. They have all these things ticked. So they are trying to be an inclusive project. The other gem that I want to give you is go to the pull requests. Go to the closed pull requests. And then you'll see these purple ones are actually merged and the red ones are closed. So go to the closed ones and have a look. And closed pull requests are fine, but find out why they were closed. Were they closed by the project maintainer without a comment? Was it not inclusive? Or Was the project maintainer saying that this is not really a feature I want, but thank you so much. Please look at this issue. It might be something you'd be interested in contributing to. So with this one, for example, it was closed. It was closed for what reason? It was closed by the author of the pull request. So that's also fine. But it's important to have a look. You don't want to contribute to a project where the maintainer doesn't want contributions, because there are projects like that. It's very disheartening. So I highly recommend doing a bit of due diligence and checking that as well. Right. That was a bit of geeking out there. So let me just check, how are the questions doing? How am I doing on time? Wow, time is goes fast when you're having fun, right? Mentioned project maintainer. We mentioned how to get into open source. Let's have a look. Yeah, and use GitHub to its fullest. I want to answer some questions, and we're gonna look at like issues and labels and milestones and pull requests, I think. Let's have a look. Eddie is the master communicator. Awesome to see all the positive feedback. Love that. I'm just going to skip over those because the time is really short. Yes, and when you're I just saw someone talking about connecting. When you're connecting with people, don't just like on LinkedIn just hit connect and kind of forget about it. Put a comment, say, Eddie, I enjoyed your live stream today. I enjoyed your video. I enjoyed this. Let people realize where you discovered them from, so they can kind of resonate with you more, because a lot of people get a lot of connections all the time, and if you DM someone, then say, hey, I saw your tweet about this or whatever it is. Make it personal. Don't just kind of copy and paste the usual stuff everywhere. And you've got to remember that people are busy, so make it easier for other people to understand. Don't just write hi in a message. Like, that doesn't mean anything. You're unlikely to get a reply. That's why open source really helps, because it will help with your communication across all the platforms. Okay. People are sharing their, I think some GitHubs. Nice. Love that. Yes. Follow people, see what they're up to. I think that's really important. And I do also do project GitHub profile reviews. So you can always submit an issue, get a green square in our GitHub org community organization. You can join the organization and you can submit your profile, and go check that out. I don't want to talk about it now, but go check it out and you'll see lots of stuff. Right, let's go back to my screen actually, and let's have a look at more about GitHub. So if we go back to the beginning, so when you follow people, you'll get like activities of what's going on. So I can see I'm following this person. You can see I'm following Praveen. You can see that Praveen's created a repo and all the rest. So you'll get these notifications. You'll see what people are up to. So you'll see what projects you can get involved in. The other thing I want to show you, if I just pick one of my my repos, so if I just even pick my profile, I pick my profile repo, you can see we're using issues and we're using labels. So it's really important. Even if you raise an issue in your repo, you will get a green square, but also other people will more likely contribute to your project. You make your project more inclusive. So you got to look at both sides of the coin. When you contribute to other people's projects, you'll see, if only they used the issues more, if only they had better documentation, and you'll improve your repositories because of that. So you can learn a lot from that. And also look at people's GitHub profiles and, get some ideas. My GitHub profile, for example, I need to make some improvements on this. Doesn't look very nice with these massive long links, but we can maybe do that now in a second. But it's important to, borrow ideas from other people. I think that's really important. So if we go back to that repo, I mentioned issues, I mentioned labels. Also, you have milestones. So I am not using milestones in this project. If you want to group issues together, put them in milestones. So like next month, you plan to do these issues and so forth. Also, look at I do have a project board somewhere. I have lots of project boards. All my stuff is open and public. So if we look at these project boards, you can see, use project boards for your projects. Select the Kanban board where you've kind of got to do in progress, blocked, and done. I think that's really important. And other people can understand what the goal and the milestone of your project is. I think that's really important for people to understand your project. You want to make it easier for people to understand what is going on. And I mentioned GitHub Actions. Another way you can actually contribute to projects is by, a lot of people aren't using GitHub Actions yet, but they might have a command in their package.json file, for example, or any other language that you're using, you could, like a linter or just a build command, you could run that on a GitHub action very easily, and that adds so much value to a project. And it's just a few lines of YAML, so you can definitely do that. We don't have time to do that today. So what else do I want to show you? So there's a contribution. If all of you want some green squares today, go to my GitHub account, raise an issue on my on the repo that's just the same name as my username, and say, use an icon, or just say Twitter and make the word the link. And if someone wants to raise a pull request, then by all means raise a pull request. And that's how you can kind of get started with open source. I am trying to conscious of time. Let me check some more of these questions. Loving all these GitHub usernames being shared. This is epic. This is really, really good. Go check out other people's GitHub accounts. See what they're up to. That's really important. So one thing I think people always get confused about, I'm conscious of time, is Git commands. And like I said, I'm not going to show you lots of crazy Git commands, but I'm quite keen to show you some of the useful ones. So if I share my screen again, let's bring up the terminal. And let's make this a lot bigger for you all to see. Make it a lot bigger. How's that? Like a command on steroids. So I'm in the project that I was showing you a second ago to customize my GitHub repo. And what you usually do is you clone a project. So you'd go git clone, and you usually get the link from here. I highly recommend the SSH link. You click copy and you paste it, and it will clone it. And it will clone it to the name of the repo. So in this case, Eddie Jaoude. And that's fine. Don't forget, you can also clone it to, if you put another parameter space, another parameter at the end, you could say GitHub profile, and it will clone it to the name that you pass. That's one thing I want to show. So that's one of the commands that you use often. You fork a project, then make sure you clone your forked version. But what you'll end up having is, if you do a git remote -v, what you will have is you'll have origin, which is your fork, which is correct. That's really important. That's good. So when you push and pull, it's going to be to your fork. A lot of mistakes that people make are they make changes in the default branch in their fork. And that's a big no-no. You're going to create conflicts on your second pull request, or the second time you pull down the latest changes. So don't do that. Make a branch. There are conventions to making branch into commit messages. Have a look at conventional changelog. So a lot of the commits are usually, for example, feature. This is my commit message. If you were to do a commit, do git commit -m, and then you could use feature, and then you would explain what feature was done. Or you could say, is it a fix? Or is it a chore? And you can also put in modules, the module names, if it was like authentication, for example. There are lots of things you can do around that as well. So do have a look at that. And do it in a branch. So definitely make a branch. So when you're in the default branch, say if I had forked this repo and I had cloned it, you would then do a git, not git checkout, sorry. Yeah, you can do a git checkout git branch. There's so many different commands that you can do to do the same thing. So you could do git checkout, checkout, I can't spell, -b. That will create the branch and switch you into that branch. And you could give it a name. You could say, I always recommend using the issue number. So issue 123. You could append it with a bit more information if you wanted. And that's what you should really do, even in your own repos, because then you can make a pull request from it. You could get a friend to review it. And even if a friend doesn't review it, it just creates that practice and that workflow. The reason why it's so important to do it when you're on a fork is because what you'll do is you'll push up your branch to your fork. Then you'll go to the original repo and raise a pull request. Everything will work fine, even if you're doing it in a default branch. But the reason why it's important to do it in a branch off the default branch is once it gets merged, you want to bring down those changes. So what you would need to do is, you mentioned the git remote command. Well, you need to add an upstream. So you would go git remote, add upstream, and then you would go to the original repo. So say, for example, this is the original repo. You would copy that and you would add it. So when you do a git remote next, you would have two. You would have origin, and you would also have upstream. And the idea is that, yes, you push and pull from origin, but when you want to pull the latest changes from the original repo, what you would need to do, if I clear that, what you need to do is git fetch. Let me double check I get all my commands correct. Right, I have shortcuts to everything, so I forget the full commands sometimes, which I love it while on live streams people correct me. Yeah, so git fetch upstream, and that will pull the entire, not pull, that's a really bad word. It will fetch the entire for the original repository into your kind of your locally, but it won't merge it in. So remember, a git pull, there's a fetch and a merge. So in this case, we're doing it in 2 steps. So we're going to do a fetch, we're going to bring it down, but it's not in our workspace yet. So we're going to do the upstream. So we're going to fetch the upstream. And then next, what we'll want to do is do git merge upstream, and then if the default branch, main, or previously it was master, and then what that will do is that will merge it in to your default branch, not your feature branch that you did before, your default branch. And that's really important, because then any new branches you will take off the default branch, which is now up to date. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to jump into the chat because I think I've only got about 15 minutes left. I'm really keen to see what questions you have, and we can dig a lot deeper. Let's have a look. Question: is it okay to use other code in personal projects on GitHub without explicitly asking for it? I'm not 100% sure what you mean. What do you mean? Use others' code in personal projects. If it depends on the license, so do check out the license on the project. If the project hasn't got a license, it defaults back. Some people think if my project hasn't got a license, people can't use it. Other people think, oh, it's completely open. Actually, it's neither. It defaults back to GitHub's T's and C's that everyone's accepted when they signed up. Do check the licensing. I think like MIT is a really good open source permissive license where people can do whatever they want with their code, and they're not responsible for it. So do check that out and see. There's actually a really good resource, choosealicense.com by GitHub, which explains like at a high level what each one means, and you can dig deeper and it compares them, and it's really, really great. Actually, you know what? Should I just share that on my screen now? Let's just have a quick look at that. So here it gives some examples. Let me make this a bit bigger. Here it gives some examples. I want to work in a community. I want simple and permissive, and I care about sharing and improvement. And so that's really, really, really useful. And it gives examples. So you can see like this one is Babel.NET Rails and Ansible bashing is really, really good. If you want more licenses, you can then go down here and it actually lists more about it, which I think is just really awesome. You can hover over it and it gives more information. So that's really, really useful to have a look at. Hopefully that answers that question. Look for license if mentioned in the repo. Yeah, definitely. I love it. Other people answering other questions in the chat. Do that. You know, you'll get on everyone's radar. You'll grow your network. I think that's awesome. What's the difference between keeping the license and not keeping the license? If you some licenses enforce you to keep the same license that was used in the original project. So do check that out and have a look. I'm not a license expert, but I do see it come up a lot. Okay, let's have a look. One thing I also want to say is, remember, everyone here, you can learn from each other. So everyone here is your mentor. I do focus. I don't try and just get the most famous person to be your mentor. You're all my mentor as well. I can learn from all of you. These questions are awesome. So do keep them coming. I can go back over any area that you want. I'm really keen to see what areas you want me to dig deeper into. So hopefully I didn't miss too much in the chat. If I did, just copy and paste the question in the chat as well. I'll try and catch up with it now. Well, I have just scrolled up. I have just noticed one that I missed with a Q, which is great, by Bharat. Hey, Eddie, how to come up with project ideas which have potential to help the community and make great projects different. So what I suggest is by getting involved in the conversation, you'll see what people want, what people need, and you'll find challenges that you'll find a gap that you're missing. You'll be thinking, oh, if there's an app for this, or about mobile app, doesn't really matter. Or if there's an API for this, or whatever it is, you'll scratch your own itch, which is where I think where a lot of the projects come from. So I highly recommend just getting involved in the conversation. Just by getting involved in the chat now, we'll come up with lots of ideas. So, for example, we had a call yesterday with the Hackathon Guild, and people were saying, people were showing us the great things they built, and I was thinking, it'd be great to have a repo to collect all these awesome projects and drawings and mascots that they've created. So that's what we're going to do today. So I think by just getting involved in the conversation, you on all platforms, you will just realize that there are certain gaps that will help people. Even just creating a list in Markdown of useful resources for a specific niche. I've seen some repos get like 10,000 stars, 10,000 forks. And all it is like one or two Markdown files with a list of people submitting resources and ideas, YouTubers to follow, podcasts to listen to, whatever it is. So find something you feel is missing and definitely do your research first. You don't want to duplicate anything, but you might do it differently. So that's also fine. But don't want to do something exactly the same. See if you could do something of a different spin. Maybe it's maybe instead of doing it in a README file, maybe you do it in a JSON file, which then has, I don't know, a React or Angular review app that reads the JSON, so people can actually filter by tags and search by it and so on. So, and that could be hosted on GitHub pages for free. And again, you'll be adding value to the community. You'll be standing out more, which I think is really, really important. So hopefully that answers that question. Let's have a look. What are you using to present your screen? One of my friends asked me. Sure, no problem. So it's a question I get asked a lot. So I will do a video on it soon. It's similar to OBS. I use something called vMix, and it's similar to OBS where when I have the Stream Deck, it allows me to switch between different cameras, switch between screens and me and so forth. So I will show you my office if you want a quick preview behind the scenes, but it's an absolute mess. I am moving to downstairs. My office is finished, got a new floor and so on. So I will be moving to that soon. But I have a lot of kit to move, as you will see now. So this is like my cool streaming PC, and then this is my iMac Pro with its 2 screens and camera and lights and so forth. So yeah, you don't need to start off with this kit to start recording videos or doing live streams or going on calls with people, collaborating with people, pairing with people. Really, this took me years and years to build up all this kit. Apologies for the mess. I will share a picture when the room downstairs is all done with screens on top and so forth. But you just need literally a browser. VS Code has live code share built in. You can collaborate with people. I think that's awesome. So I think just do that. Get involved in the conversation. Pair with people. I think that's really, really important. Thanks for the nice words. And he's been saying that for 3 months. I have been saying that for 3 months, but the room only got finished like 2 weeks ago, and it's going to take me like 2-3 days to move down to it. As you can see, there's a lot of kit. And under the desk, I have streaming PCs, hard disk arrays for 16 terabytes and stuff. So it will take me quite a few days to move. So that's why I'm waiting for a few quiet days. But I'm getting frustrated, so I will move soon. So what questions do you have about open source, everyone? I really want, looking at the clock, I think I've only got like 5 minutes left, but I can keep going for a little bit longer if the organizers allow. But I'm really keen for all of you to accelerate your career. Really am. And hopefully I've encouraged you and shown you that open source and getting in collaboration and communication, really it's collaboration first, code second. So hopefully I've encouraged you at least to join the conversation in the chat, in the live stream, in Discord, on GitHub. Hopefully I've encouraged you to do that. But any questions, anything that I didn't explain very well, do let me know. Here we go. Kunal, how do we understand that we've got a perfect project to work on? You will never find the perfect project to work on without working on an imperfect project. So just by work on a project, you will eventually find a project that you like, because you're never going to find the perfect project. You might like one project because of the technology, but it might go too fast. It might go too slow. You might find another project that goes at the right speed, but might not be the technology that you want. And the technology that you want today will probably change in 6 months, a year. So I wouldn't get too hung up on the technology. You might want to contribute to open source on the technology you're using and learning now, and that makes sense. And then later on, you might think, I want to start learning another technology. So let me get involved in this project that my friend or someone in the community is working on, because they're using that technology and I can learn from them. So you won't find the perfect project by doing nothing. You need to just get started, and you will eventually find a good project that you enjoy working with, because there's so many variables. Siddharth, we're waiting for the new setup. Thank you. Me too. I've started moving boxes down, so that's good. Just I haven't moved the final setup. How do you address repositories being copied entirely and claiming originality? Have you ever faced that? I haven't faced that, because if someone copies a repo, it's going to have all your commits in it. So what they would have to do is remove the history and commit the entire code base in one commit under their name. And that's going to look pretty suspect. I have seen that before. I don't know where they got it from. I have seen people say, hey, this is my project. Doesn't it look cool? Hire me. And look at it. It's got like one commit with like 500 files committed. I'm like, that looks a bit suspect. No one is going to really do that. So I don't think you can like fake it. And, you know, even my startup I started a few years ago that's currently on hold is completely open source. If someone wants to copy it and start their own startup, then fine. But they won't, because someone once told me, no one is going to steal your silly ideas, because they have their own silly ideas. So I wouldn't worry about it. And those are those people who do try and cheat the system. They're not going to get very far. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So if you try and cut corners, it's not going to work. You've just got to. It's like going to the gym, right? You can't go to the gym for 10 hours in one day and then hope to wake up the next morning, you know, looking like Arnie or something. It's something you've got to do little and often. And if you're watching tutorials and watching videos, that's great, but you've got to practice it. Like, you can't go to the gym and get a personal trainer and just watch them do the exercise. You're not going to get any fitter. Yes, you might learn a little bit more each time, but eventually it's going to kind of, you know, plateau out, and you're not going to learn more until you actually do it yourself, because theory is one thing and practice is another. Let's have a look. What else have we got? I'm looking into some issues on some big code bases, but I just don't get how to solve that issue. Don't try and run before you can walk. I know a lot of people go, oh, I want to contribute to React or Angular or Node or whatever it is, because they want to contribute to the biggest projects and say, hey, look, I got pull requests accepted into this amazing, massive project. It's going to be harder. It's going to be more work. And not only is it more work for you to understand that project, when you do raise a pull request for it, you're probably going to get more conflicts because the project is moving fast, right? They're merging hundreds of pull requests a day. So you're more likely to get conflicts. You resolve that conflict, and then you know what's going to happen next, right? By the time you resolved it, 100 more have gone in, and you're going to get more conflict. So it's very, very hard. You can get there. I'm not saying you can't, but you've got to work up to that. You're not going to go to the gym and try and squat like 200 kilos straight away. You probably barely can squat like 10 kilos. And then it just kind of, you just build up from there. So again, just get started. If you can take away one thing from today's talk, is just get started. And you will learn so much from that. Because whatever you do, your first issue, pull request, tweet, blog post, video, it's not going to be as good as your 10th one. And trust me, I guarantee you, your 100th one is going to be better than your 10th one. So you've just got to do it and get started. Don't procrastinate. Don't overthink it. Join the conversation, and you will see. Like in our Discord, we encourage people to get the green squares. We encourage people to raise issues, and we give feedback on the issues and so on. So we're also open to suggestions. We're always learning all the time as well. So yeah, don't be scared. Do practice. Given limited time as a student, how to start working on aspirational bulky projects like 2 to 3 mini projects seem reasonable trade-offs sometimes. Gaurav, have I pronounced that right? You got to do what works for you. You know, 1 week, 1 month, you might be wanting to do little projects, and then another time you might think, you know what, I want to take on a bigger project and build a bigger project. Different things work for different people, so I can't suggest you should do. I would suggest doing smaller things to begin with and work up to those. But I don't think there's a silver bullet or a golden rule that you must follow. There's so many variables, right? We all have different experiences. We all have different time available, different responsibilities. We work at different times of the day. We get tired more or less doing certain things. So yeah, it's what works for you. As long as you're doing something, I believe you're stepping forward, and then you're only making more progress, and then you'll realize what works for you, what you enjoy more, what resonates with the community, and it will just snowball from there. So which project should we look into? Ayush, if I pronounced that right, any project, literally any project. If you're not contributing to a project, yours and someone else's, I think you should do 2. I really think you should. I've seen the chat. Sorry, from the organizers. Small break after 1 minute, so then you can. It's not for me. Okay, organizers, let me know when I need to stop. Otherwise, I'll talk forever. But I'm guessing any time now soon. So which projects should we look into? Any projects. I think you should have your own projects that you're contributing to and other people's, because you'll learn different skills by doing both. And when people start contributing to yours further down the line, it won't happen straight away. Then you'll learn different skills. So do both. Try and have two projects on the go. One is doing small contributions to somebody else's, and one is yours. That might be for this week, for this month. And then you might do another one, and that's also fine. Okay, I think we'll call it there, organisers. Otherwise, everyone will fall asleep probably. But I hope everyone has really enjoyed this talk. And I know I jumped a lot in and out between the chat, but I loved your questions. I think it was great. I'm going to check out all your GitHub repos as well. I'm really looking forward to see what you've been up to. I think it's going to be great. Hopefully they're all customized. I've really looking forward to seeing customized repo. People have some amazing customized repos, and I think that's really, really awesome.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us, Eddie. That was an amazing session. Thanks a lot for joining us.
No problem at all. Thank you so much for having me here. And if anyone wants to reach out, do reach out to me, ask me any questions, but please do ask them publicly, not in private DMs, because then it will help other people in the community, and you can also get feedback from other people in the community as well.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hi, yeah. So, hi everyone. We have Pawan Kumar, who is a Google developer expert for Flutter with us. Hi, Pawan.
Hi, Swami. How are you?
I'm
Hi,
good.
everyone. I hope I am audible and visible as well. So, just
Yes.
hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, guys. So, thanks to the DSC team, first of all, for having me. And I'm here to talk about Flutter. So, I hope a lot of you might have heard about Flutter already, but even if you haven't, then also there's no problem. I try to explain as much as I can. And I think there is some projects which you are gonna do after this talk as well. So I hope that you will find something useful here. So let's start, and I'll try to make it as fun as it can be. And don't worry, it won't be that much technical. Even if you have a little bit of programming, like any programming language knowledge, then you will be good enough to start with it. So should we start? And let me know if I'm audible and everything is working just fine. So I'll share my screen, I'll share my presentation, and even that presentation is gonna be small because I love to code, and there will be a demonstration, coding demonstration. So let's start with that. So okay, so let's see if we can just 1 second. Okay, so here we are going to talk about Flutter, obviously, with a taste of VX. What is VX? I'll tell you about it very soon. So, about me, if you don't know me, then my name is Pawan, and I am a GD for Flutter, Firebase, and Web Tech. And I'm here because I love Flutter, and I run a YouTube channel called Tech Viral. So yes, feel free to reach to my channel as well. So yeah, and if you have any questions during this talk, just let me know in the comments. I'll try to pick them directly, even with the demonstration part. So what is Flutter? If you don't know, Flutter is a UI toolkit which is offered by Google, and it can help you in building native apps for mobile operating system, let's say Android, iOS, as well as for web and for desktop. So like you can literally make every application in Flutter, like whatever operating system you are using technically, or like the common ones which you see every day, even for Raspberry Pi. So all these things can be done using Flutter. So that is what Flutter is. It's a cross-platform solution. Now these are the three platforms which is, like kind of major platforms which people generally use. So either we use mobile phones a lot, or we browse, or surfing internet is basically on the website, right? So on when you are on the web, then also you open so many applications, so kind of web applications or PWA applications. And on desktop also, if you are using Mac OS, Windows, then you might have some application, for example Spotify, or even VS Code and all these applications. So this is something which Flutter can support. So now about the language, let's talk about the language, because language is also very important or crucial thing when we talk about a language, a framework. So Flutter uses Dart. So Dart is nothing but a very simple language, which is like, you can say, if you know Java, if you have like worked on C Sharp, or even if you have worked on JavaScript, you will find it very familiar. And I'll talk more about it by showing some examples so that you can relate with it. So I hope many of you might have heard about TS, which is TypeScript. Okay. So why I'm mentioning TS? Because if you'll see the syntax, then you will find that both of them are very similar. Even TS has many things similar to JavaScript itself, because it's nothing but a better solution than JavaScript, I would say. But the similarities between TS and Dart is too much. So yeah, if someone thinks that Flutter is a language, no, Flutter is just a framework. The language is Dart, and TypeScript is why I'm showing, because I will give you some examples by which you will be able to relate that, okay, Dart is how Dart works, and how TS works. So let's see how we make a class in TypeScript. So we write class pizza, and these the braces which we use obviously in any other language also. So this is how we actually write in Java as well. Okay, and you might have seen a lot of places or a lot of languages where we write class like this, right? And then let's say we have to add another, like you can say, member to this class, which is slices, which is of number type, and the value is 8, right? So let's see how we will add a constructor. We will say constructor, we will say that it will accept toppings as parameters. So it is a array of string, and then it's done. And then we will see that there is something called bake, which is a method. Okay, so there is a little difference between functions and methods. So when we talk about in terms of class, like, I know many of you might have confused a little bit when someone asks you what is the difference between a function and a method. So this is a method. Why? Because when you talk about a class, then everything inside it is a method. Like the function is itself a method, and when we talk about outside class, then it's a function. So that's why I'm calling it a method. So as you can see, this is an asynchronous method. So there is like a whole kind of study which you can do about synchronous and asynchronous programming. So I'm not gonna go into that detail, but I'll just try to relate with what is happening here. So basically, asynchronous is basically that you will do something else. In the meantime, this will still execute, right? And there is a promise, which means a future in Flutter or Dart, if you have heard it, or even JavaScript itself. The promise and future both exist, I guess, in like most of the language. So promise is nothing but it says that, okay, after a particular set of time, I'll return you the data. So that's what is happening here. And now there is a function called main, and most of us know that in most of the programming language, execution starts with the main method, whether it is Java, whether it is TypeScript, whether it is Dart. And this is again an asynchronous function, and we are calling main at the end, as you can see here. But generally, we don't call main in Dart or Java and some of the other programming languages. Okay, so in the main, what we are doing, we are making an object of this pizza class by using this new keyword, and we are passing the toppings in the string of array, and that's what we are calling dinner. So this is the object. Dinner is that object, and Uh, so someone asked promises or callbacks. What do you prefer? I will prefer promises and even async await approach, not callbacks. I don't generally like that kind of syntax because it makes the code little bit messy. And now we see that we can write something like dinner.bake, which means we will use this object, dinner object, and we will call the method called bake. Okay, and await means it will wait until it will return something. Okay, so that's what we are doing here in TypeScript, right? And now we will try to relate it with Dart. So what else? And then we are just printing that, okay, console.log, and we are printing that yum, and we are just joining all the strings in that array. Now let's come to the Dart side, okay, and let's see how Dart is different than all these things. So the first thing which I want to mention, I didn't go into details of anything, right? Why? Because I want to mention the things which actually matters. So when you're learning Flutter, it is really important to learn Dart before it, because it's not about framework, it's about language. With language you can make multiple frameworks, right? So language is much more important than any framework, and once you learn a particular language, then it is very easier to learn any other language, because a lot of the time you will find the syntax is kind of very similar, right? So now let's see Dart how it works with the same pizza class, right? So here we will write the same piece of code, class pizza. Then you see there were slices and we were saying number. Here we will see int slices is equal to 8, and for toppings we will just say list of string, which is topping. So array or list is same thing in Dart. So don't get confused with that. And then the constructor is there, which is pizza, and here we are accepting that toppings, or you can say the list of string. And then we have another method called bake, but this is also asynchronous, but in TypeScript it was on the left side, the async keyword, and here it is on the right side. That's the only difference. So syntax can be a little bit different in few scenarios, but overall idea is always gonna be the same. And then you see future dot delete, that after particular like 5 seconds it will return something. So future is nothing but promise, as I told you already, that promise and future are the same thing. And then we have a main method again, and you will see that we are not calling this main method manually, because this is from where execution starts in Dart. So you don't have to specify that, you don't have to call main method, but rather you can just start with main and it will automatically reach to this method, your compiler. And now we are creating an object called dinner using this pizza class, and we are passing again the same list of string or list of array, whatever, sorry, array of string, whatever you want to call it. And there is pineapple, and this is the object. And now we will call the method called bake, and similarly we are using await keyword here, and this is the approach I prefer. Someone was asking about callbacks, so no, this one is what I prefer, because it looks much cleaner and it is actually easy to even debug. So so now this is done, and now rather than console.log we will just say print here, and yeah, the same thing, right? So why I showed you this, the whole idea is that Dart is not a very different language. This is something which you have been doing already, but the name of the language is just different, with some additional features which can make your life even easier. So not a great fan of Java, so that's why I moved to C#. And when I just working on C#, then Dart came into the picture. It was like 4 to 5 years ago when I was just browsing and seeing things. And when I started with Flutter initially, when it was not even it was not stable at all, it was in alpha. Then I saw Dart and I just saw the similarities between Dart and C#. And this was like, I just took one day, not even one day, to just get up with this language and do everything. So the main idea is that Dart is very much pretty familiar with everything which you have been using. Now the similar thing which I try to tell you using Flutter. So yeah, it's familiar, right? So that's the main concept of what I wanted to explain over here. Now let's come to the Flutter side. Let's see how Flutter is actually similar to what you have been using. So in Flutter, everything is a widget. Okay, what is a widget? That's the first question which you might ask. So widget is nothing but a component. If you have done any work in HTML, okay, I'm just expecting that you have worked a little bit in HTML. Okay, so in HTML there is a tag called div, right? that is a component itself, right? Or you can say a container. So similarly, there are multiple components like p tag, or you can say any like a head tag or whatever. Everything here is a widget in Flutter. So let's see a common example here. So as you can see, this is a hello world class, which is extending a stateless widget. A stateless widget is another class, you can say. And this is this class extending that class so that it can override one method which is built, where this is where we will write the UI code. So here what we are trying to return, we are just saying text, that we want to have a text with hello world as a string. So that's what we are doing. Now what if you have to write the same thing in HTML? So if you see the HTML example here, you write class hello world extend HTML element connected callback, and then you will use the inner HTML and you will just use hello world. So these are pretty much same. And now let's see how we do the same thing in React. So you say class hello world, it extends a React.component, which is nothing but a stateless widget, you can say here. And there is a method called render, which is in Flutter build, and it returns p hello world because there is no widget as text, so that you can just write return a string. That's pretty much it, right? So and now let's go back to HTML. You can see we have a header, we have a toolbar, we have a div which says my app on the top, and this is the header part. And then in the body we are saying that okay, align my text in the center, and the text is hello world. And now we will see how we can do it in Flutter. So we'll say material app. So this is we have to select a type of the app which we are making. It can be material, it can be Cupertino, it can be just widgets app, which we will customize entirely. So title here is welcome to Flutter, obviously. And in the home, we are saying scaffold. Scaffold is nothing but a structure, a body kind of structure. Like in HTML, you see head, body, footer, something like that, right? So here is scaffold, app bar, body, and something like in bottom sheet and drawer and all those things. So in app bar, we are saying welcome to Flutter, and in text, we have wrapped it with center, and we are saying hello world. Pretty much similar. And yeah, that's it. That's the only difference between them. Like in terms of writing, it is very easy. It's just it takes some time to understand what is happening, but generally it is very easy, right? Now here you will see one thing that this HTML component which I'm showing here, it has just a title and a body, right? And there is no templates as such. And here, so what I mean is that if you see this component, okay, we are using HTML for just structuring, right? And this is where we have to use CSS, right, to pad it, to add colors and all those things. So in Flutter, we don't even have to use some template, no CSS, and we could just use widgets. Okay, so padding, like here you can use a card widget and you can just display a card. So and for gestures, let's say you can just add a gesture detector, and it gives you some callbacks like on tap or on double tap, on long tap, and all these things. So you can use that. Now there is a concept called stateful widget. So stateless widget is something where the state is not going to change. Let's say you have a name, okay? Let's say my name is Pawan. That is not going to change. So when I have to use Pawan, I can make it a stateless widget. But let's say you have a timer. So timer will change each second, right? So that in that case, that can be a stateful widget. Or let's say if you are performing some action on the screen and that can change something, right? Let's say there is a button, you click on the button, the number will change. Then it will be a stateful widget. So that's the concept. So here in the code, you can see we have, let me know if I'm running so fast, then also let me know. My whole idea is just to give you a brief about it. So here you can see we have a home page, which is extending a stateful widget, and it gives us this state object, right? Now, there's like when we use stateful widget, we have to use two different classes. So now this class will extend that state class, and then it will give us the same build method to override. But this time we can use something called set state. What set state will do, whenever you will say set state, it will refresh the UI, or it can you can say that it will rebuild the widget tree. And what will happen, it will reflect all the changes which you wanted to do in the UI. So that's the purpose of set state, and that is how you make a stateful widget. Now, what is velocity X and how it comes to the picture? So Vx is actually velocity X, and this is a framework which I created. So this is a minimalist Flutter framework which is inspired from Tailwind CSS and Swift UI. And the purpose of this particular framework is to build designs even faster. Flutter is very fast, there's no doubt about it, but you can make it even faster. The experience can be even faster as a developer. So now the question is, should you use it or not? So as I think like most of the viewers right now are probably beginners, so I would not recommend to jump into any. First of all, you are jumping to a framework and then you are jumping to any other library or manual framework. Only jump there until and unless you feel that you know the basics. So basics is really strong. Even if you are looking for a job, even if you want to do anything, basics are really important. So my personal recommendation would be to jump to VX or anything similar only after learning the basics. Then why I am even showing this? Because I really want to show you the power of Flutter or the power of things which you can do. And if it can motivate you enough, then please check it out. So why even I made it? Because most frameworks or libraries, like you must have seen Bootstrap, Boomla, and all those things in CSS or Java, like the web application development is full of these kind of libraries. So what they do is like they try to give you a lot of components, right? And what happens is that most of the time you don't even need those components, right? You need just one particular component, or you just want to customize them more. So that's not the purpose of Velocity X. Velocity X existence is why, because what widgets we use the most? That was the question which I asked myself. And there's a really good article by James Williams, so it's available on Medium. You can ask me to link anytime, whenever you want, and it has some like analysis that what people generally use. I'll just show you the results. What is the result? So generally, the most of the time people use text, then they use container, then padding, column, row, icon, size box, center, and all these things. So that's where when we are using it heavily, like these kind of widgets, then is there a way we can like make it even easier? So I'll show you what I mean by this thing. So now what Velocity X offers, so it is a utility first framework, which means it provides you a lot of utilities. It's not just a design framework where the components are pre-made, but it tries to give you some pre-made components which are not part of the framework. Otherwise it does not like give you components. It just tries to give you the better way to ease your work. It's suppose responsive designs is there are certain widgets which can help you, or certain tools which can help you in making your designs even more responsive, so that it can support mobile, web, or desktop. It's component friendly, which means even if you are having some component already which is not using VX, you can still extend it using VX, so you don't have to change your entire code base. And yeah, it has a lot of tools, a lot of extension methods which can be very helpful. But if you are just beginning, don't bother about it. This is just for fun. Now the last thing which is very important here is that you can like decrease your amount of or piece of code by 40% when you're using VX with Flutter. So it's, as I told you, it's even faster. Like your speed will increase by 40%. So that's a good thing about VX. So for example, if you see this particular like on the right hand side, there is a particular design, you can say, like the component, and it is taking 124 lines of code, which you cannot read, I know. It's very small, but just for the idea, it is using 124 lines of code without using VX. And when you use VX, the same thing can be done in just 29 lines of code. So that's the power of VX. It's just a random idea. We will see how it works. So yes, so now we'll do check how to just start with VX or even the Flutter application. So I hope you are ready. If you are ready, just let me know in the comments, and let's start this coding then. And let me just set up. Okay, so I am sure lot of people are already enjoying. So let's start the coding part. Give me 1 second, just to set up the coding environment a little bit. Um, okay, so let's see, and let me know if you anytime feel that this is going just above your head. So I'll just try to make it even easier. And can we have the screen, the coding screen as well here? I think we got it. There's some issue. Yeah. So yes. So people are ready. Okay, that's super cool. Now, as you can see, when you start your Flutter project, when you will like download Flutter SDK, or when you will just install everything and create your first Flutter project, then this is something which you will see. So here on the left hand side, you can see we get many folders, like one for Android, which will just include the native Android code. One is for iOS, where you will see the native iOS code and everything. One for Mac OS, if you are using Flutter into the dev channel or master channel, which is not stable, and even web, which is in beta channel. So, and let's say Windows as well, if you are targeting desktop application. So all these things which you see right now on the right hand side, what you see is not a mobile application; it's a Windows app, but you can literally run Android or iOS app. Right now I'm using Windows, so we cannot run iOS apps directly here, but this works with iOS as well. And this is what you get, like when you start a program. Initially you get hello world. Here you get a counter app, which is nothing but it's just a press of one button, and it increases the counter, right? And there's like a lot of comments which is written over here, so I'll try to clean it up a little bit so that I can make you understand what is happening. So whatever work we do is we do in the lib folder, okay? And whenever we have to write or add any dependency, we go to this pubspec.yaml file. So YAML file is where we add all the dependencies, if you can see. So here already there is a dependency called SDK, which is Flutter SDK. Then there is something called Cupid, icons, which will give us some set of icons. And then some developer dependencies are there, and all these things, right? So this is where you will add dependencies, and your code, which is the cross-platform code which you have to write, will go inside this lib folder, where we have already one class, one file, which is main.dart. And as I told you, everything starts from main. So this is just calling a method called run app, which is essential to run any application. And what happened is, okay, something. So in the run app, we are just calling this particular instance of a class, which is my app. My app is again extending a stateless widget. Same thing. Let me remove the comments here. Just there are a lot of comments, and let me know if the code is visible enough so that we don't get into the small size code which you cannot see. Okay, so now let me remove all the comments because they are not that much useful. Okay, let's give it a shot. I'm removing just the comments. Why? Because they are just taking so much space, and it is making a little bit confusing the things which I want to explain over here. Okay, so now it's very, very simple. So what's happening? Let's see again. So there's a main method which is calling run app, and where we have our my app. My app is nothing but using a material app, as I showed in the slides, and it has something called my home page, where in the home page it is a stateful widget, because see, there is a counter which we are trying to change. Okay, so when we click on this plus button, the number is changing. So as I told you, whenever there will be a change in the screen, you might be using stateful widget somewhere. It can be directly by you or behind the scenes. Okay, so my homepage is there, and there is one variable called counter, and initially its value is 0. And when we click on this plus button, this counter just says counter plus plus, and we use set state to tell the framework that please redraw this particular UI, because I want 30 to change to 31, and then when I click again, then it should change to 32. So every time you just say set state, it refreshes your UI. That's what you can say. Then we have a scaffold, we have an app bar, we have a center where we have a column. Column is nothing but set of widgets which are vertically aligned. If you have a row, then it will go like this, and if you have a column, then it will go like this. So column is vertically main axis, and row is basically like the horizontally main axis, right? So that's what we are doing. And then we have text widget. So as I told you, everything here is a widget, so most of the things you are seeing here are widgets. So app bar is a widget, scaffold is a widget, center is a widget, column is a widget, floating action button is again a widget. And when the property is saying app bar, so there are high chances that the widget will also be app bar. So that is a really good idea when you're getting started. So if you see scaffold, there is something called, let's say, bottom sheet. So there are high chances that there can be a widget called bottom sheet. So you will see bottom sheet, right? And you can even see bottom app bar. So all these things. So you can see what kind of widget it takes. So that based on that, you can decide, right? So if we see bottom sheet, it takes any kind of widget. It's not explicitly saying that I will take only this widget. So basically, the idea here is that it's very simple. I guess we have time, or we are running out of time. Please let me know. So now you got the idea, right? And let's try to do something good with VX now. This is something which you have to learn, obviously. Without learning basics, don't jump to any library. Again, I'm saying this. But right now, I'll show you something cool which will just make your life even easier. So we will go to pubspec.yaml, and we will add a dependency here called, let's say, here below this Flutter, we can just say a dependency called velocity x, and the version of it can be, the current version is, let's say, 1.3.1. So we will save it, and or you can just go to your terminal and you can just say flutter pub get. And don't worry if you don't understand anything, because there are sufficient content available which I'll definitely share you the link, and you can just go and learn all these things from scratch and the basics as well. So there's no problem with that, but because we are short of time, so I'll try to explain or try to show you the good stuff, right? So as you can see, we have center, we have a counter, and you are just saying that you have pushed this button this time. Looks very ugly, not a great design. So now let's remove this text. First text is removed. We just have a counter, right? And this is not the best counter, honestly, which you must have seen. So let's try to make it a little bit better. So what I'll do, I'll remove this text as well. So we have nothing basically now on the screen. So we have a counter variable still, which will hold the value, obviously, right? And when we will click on this button, then it will increase the value as well. But there is no widget which will display this thing. So now let's see how we can add the same variable using velocity x, right? So what you can do here, you can use your counter literally over here, counter. Then you can just say dot to a string, that you want a string version of the counter, or you don't even need that. You can just import velocity x first of all. So velocity x. So this import is actually required, because otherwise it will not detect that you are using velocity x. So syntax will not work. So now after counter, you can just say dot text, that I want to convert it to a text widget. And when you are using velocity x, then most probably that widget is gonna complete itself by make. So what make will do, make will make sure that you are done with the widget. Now we can see this counter is over here, and it is very small, right? So let's increase the size. So after text, we can say, let's say XL6. So which means the extra large size, or you can say XL6 is basically XL into 6, whatever. So there is XL as well. You can see that there is XL2, There is SM, which is small. There is medium, so you can just literally say medium. So similarly, we are using Excel 6, and if you are not using velocity X, then you have to use a component called style. Then you will say text style. Then inside that you will go to font size, and then you will set the font size. But right now we are just writing a single word. That's it. Okay. So now let's see. This is again not a very good widget, right? Nothing amazing here. So now we can just say bold. So now this is looking better. Okay, this is bold, but what's new here? Also, let's do one thing. Let's add some keyword here. Let's say DSC. So I can just say DSC. So this is a DSC counter app. So I can um, just use a string over here. That okay. I'm using, so this I can remove actually. So now you can say DSC 32. It's still looking very bad. Now what we can do here, we can after make, we can wrap it with a box. Okay, so this is the box, and we can say that box color should be, for example, VX dot red 500, for example, and then we will just say dot make. What it will do, it will give us a color in the background, and it will wrap it with a box, right? This is looking fine now, but let's add some padding between the text and the box. So after box, I can also say .p16, which will add some padding around it, which now it looks even better. So p16, which means padding. What if we could provide kind of maybe, what we can do, rounded kind of shape, right? So we can just say let's say rounded SN, small or rounded, just rounded, and you can see this rounded kind of shape, right? Now there are various things you can do. Some people like neumorphic design, right? This that is very very like popular these days. So what, for neumorphic, what you have to do, you can just go to the background color of your sheet or your app, and just use the color for which you want to make it neumorphic. So this is the, let's say, the background color, and rather than just saying this color here, you can just say dot neumorphic, and for color you will provide the same color which is the background, because otherwise it won't give you that effect. So now you can see we got this neumorphic effect, which looks pretty cool, right? You can even change the curve. So VX curve dot, let's say, you can say convex, and this looks fine, right? Okay, we have 5 more minutes, so we'll try to utilize those 5 minutes. So now this is something which is like we just wrote few lines of code, not even few lines of code, and this is what we could do. Okay, now let's go back. Like this neumorphic is not I want to show you. I want to show you something even better. So what we can do here, let's add some gradient over here so that it looks even better. So I'll just come here and I'll say linear gradient, and I'll provide some color. Let's say orange 400 and red 600. So you can see we got this particular color, and let's also make the text as white, and remove this Excel 6. So why we are doing this? Because we want to animate this now. Okay, so how we can do some cool animation, right? So now even if you are pressing this button, you can see the counter is increasing, and this is fun. This is really looking good. So now you can just copy this, and you can use something called, see, this is very going to change the size of this particular text with animation. So what I'll do, I'll say that okay, I want to use a int tween. Int tween can take a value from, there will be a beginning value, there will be some end value. So let's say beginning value is 0 and ending value is 200, for example, and we will say that we want to have a ease in animation, right? And this animator state will give us the value back from 0 to 200 with animation. So we can just say here that we just want to say the size is this animator state dot value. And now let's do a hot restart. Let's see what happens. Okay, it is saying int is not a subtype of type double. Why? Because we have to then specify that we are using an integer value here, and we can just say dot to double. And you must have seen an animation which happened, right? But that was very fast. So let's try to make the size as 100, and let's give it some duration. So seconds, we will second make, let's say 4 seconds, so that it can happen very easily. So you can see we are getting this animation. And what if we can get the continuous animation? So let's make it again 3 seconds, and to make it continuous we can just say dot infinite. And now if we restart it, then you will see something like this, and this is pretty cool, right? And it will keep happening. And this is what you can do, like with this simple just like 4 to 5 lines of code. That's it. So Flutter is really good for animations. Flutter is really good for all these things. Even we can have something like this counter is not looking so good. So let's do one last thing with the counter. What we will do, rather than increasing the size, right? We will not increase the size, but we can do something with the with this counter itself, right? What we can do, that is the good question. So let's do one thing. Let's stop this for a while. So let's remove the size from here, and let's make it XL6. And what I want to do, rather than increasing 1, let's increase 100. Okay, when you click on the button. So I'll just say quickly counter plus 100. And now if I press this button, then it says 100, 200, 400, like this. But this is not looking cool because there is no animation as such, right? So what we can do, rather than saying the int tween as 100, we will just pass the counter value over here, right? And rather than infinite, we will just do it one time. And one more thing which you have to do, rather than saying here counter, we can just say anim state dot value. But whenever we will see, this is the animation we want. So okay, this is looking cool, but there is a problem with this, that what I want, whenever I press this plus button, there should be some animation, which is not happening right now. Why? Because this is not refreshing. So what I can do, I can make a variable here called animator key. I know a lot of things might be going out like from your head, but that is fine. Like you will learn it, all of this. So this is, I just want to show you the capabilities of Flutter here, nothing else. So animator key, and we will assign this animator key to this VX animator. That's it. And when we are doing this counter plus 100, we will just say the animator key to refresh the animation, or to trigger the animation, whatever you want to call, and just hot restart. Okay, so it is saying that this. Let's do a hot restart again. And we got some issue with the sizing and all. So what we can do here, one second. Let's make a size a little bit smaller, if that fixes it. One second, guys. Okay, looks fine to me. Animator key looks good. And let's do a hot restart. Okay, so it is not understanding int by some reason. Let's remove this. Okay, this is fine now. Now let's make it again XL6. We are just running out of time, so I'll just take 1 second. So if I click now on plus button, then you will see the animation when it goes to 100. Now if I click the plus button again, then it goes to 200, 300. So a lot of cool stuff which you can do by a very small piece of code. That's what I wanted to show you. Now I'll just quickly, 1 second. I'll just quickly go to back to my slides, and I'll try to show you the final part of it. So the final part is over here, which I think you saw and you enjoyed it. So yeah, these are the things which you can do. So just wanted to end it with that. I have a channel called MTech where you will find a lot of tutorials for these, and just wanted to show you that what great things you can do. This was just a very small teaser of what you can do, and you can do n number of things. Someone asked me that whether we can build web apps. Yes, you can build web apps, but not all kind of web apps. Obviously, there will be some limitations as of now, and yeah, thank you so much. If you have any questions, I think we are out of time, but please, you can just post me on Twitter, or you can just reach to my channel and you can ask the questions. I do live sessions also frequently, so you can do that. Okay, so yeah, that's it about this particular presentation. Thank you so much for joining, and great to have you guys.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Pawan. Yeah, so now we have Rushabh with us, who is the co-founder of Agraya Technologies and also a Google developer expert in cloud. Nice to have you here.
Hi, thank you, Somi. Thanks for having me here. So, without wasting time, we'll start. Uh, I don't know how much time I have, but I'll try to wrap up because we're already a little late. So, I'll try to wrap up things as fast as I can because I'm sure you would all be hungry for your dinner. So, let me just share my screen. So, I'm not going to talk much of the technical details today. I'm sure you all are pretty much okay. Yeah, right. So today what we'll be talking about is the Google Cloud for India. Like, since you all are developer and since this entire challenge that you are part of or you're going to be part of is going to be for 2 months, and you all will be building some solutions for India, or or for solving some problem that you would have thought of. I'm sure everyone would have picked up some challenge that they are trying to solve. They would have thought of some technologies that they will be using and how they are planning to build it in this 2 months or 3 months time. So that's what I believe this winter of code thing is about. So before even, like, since we are starting to then today's we are inaugurating this, before you start actual hands-on coding, I really wanted to give you some background on what kind of technologies which are available, what kind of products you should use, or what kind of platform you should use for building your products or your solution. So it will give you some idea on what's available in market. So before even we get into the technology part of it, let's understand why what's what why cloud works in India and what is it that India is looking for, and how the technology landscape of India. Everyone knows that India, we are mobile first country, so we have more than 700 million smartphone users in India, and we have 1.3 exabyte of mobile data bandwidth used per month. That's really huge. Video consumption is high. You would have seen this entire Digital India campaign where there are tier 2, tier 3 people are also now started using smartphones. So overall internet penetration and user growth is tremendous in India, and that also brings a lot of opportunity for you as a developers to do a lot of new stuff for India and for our Indian consumers and users. So there are certain platforms and technology. I'm sure you must have seen some of these platforms and technologies, but these are very essential if you're building something for India. For example, this progressive web app, very important. Like, we all know that it is very difficult. Like, if you build a mobile app, it is very difficult to get users to get your mobile app downloaded. And then with and since still there are more than 60-70% of mobile users who use smartphone which are less than 10,000 rupees, they have limited space and limited memory. So how do you give them the great experience? That's where the PW comes into the picture. You can look for, like, there are, like, and this PW gives the complete mobile app kind of experience. It also gives a rich offline experience. So, and of course we know, since in India there is always connectivity issues, so offline experience does make a lot of difference for the users. It's also discoverable and linkable, so you can use as your mobile app, and it gives you the progressive experience, because we have seen that in India there are a lot of people who don't update the apps. I'm sure we all use some mobile apps, but we don't update all the apps regularly. So that's where the progressive experience comes into the picture. Apart from them, then AMP, that AMP also the fast AMP is a technology where you can make your web page load faster. So it's called accelerated mobile pages. Most of the news websites, media websites have now started using AMP. You can combine AMP and PW as well, where you can create a low bandwidth fast experience for your user. That's very important. Android, of course, we are Android first country. 95% of users in India are using Android, so that's very important. There is an Android instance app also, which are very important. Again, you can look more into it, so you can use them. It also helps improve to your SEO, making your web faster. Also, the AMP components you can use. You can look for AMP for all. You just Google it and you get a lot of details about the AMP and PWA. Then there is a dialog flow. Dialog flow helps you build the voice experience. In India, we know the language is a big barrier. People don't understand, or like and considering the literacy rate, people can't use the mobile the way we use. People don't understand English so well. So for them, the voice is very easy way to communicate with technology and medium, and that's where you can build some of your custom voice agents using Dialogflow, or you can use Firebase. Firebase is a very uh, powerful tool for analytics for your database, so you can use that. And actions on Google, of course, as I said, like the voice plays a big role into this entire ecosystem. So definitely look for it. And so these are some of the components that you should look for when you're building your project, or even in future we are building something, or if you want to start your own startup or something. Just make sure that you may or you should use any of this kind of product which makes your product more powerful, robust, and the experience is far superior. Yeah. So now, how, as we said, like we're talking about Google Cloud today, how Google GCP helps you. So let's understand this. What do you need for a good product to be? Like, it should have a high speed, it should have low latency, it should be highly scalable. Let's say you start something today, you have 1,000 users. Tomorrow you will grow, you will have millions of users. So the scalability has to be there. The cost should be low, and of course there is advanced ML available now. So definitely you should use some of the machine learning and AI modules which will make your product stand out into the market. So that's very important for you to think out of the box, and it's not that difficult in nowadays. That ML and AI, which are like, it sounds like a very difficult jargon, but which are not. So trust me. So all this is provided by Google Cloud Platform. So if you're looking for cloud AI, or your big data analytics, or your API platforms, IoT, your cost-effective serverless solutions, everything is part of the Google Cloud Platform. So you should definitely look for it, which will help you build your product in much better way. So let's understand what's Google Cloud Platform and how it can help. So, I mean, before understanding, like as we saw, like, that there are different type of solutions which are part of Google Cloud. Apart from that, Google also have connected services. So you might be using G Suite, you might be using Google Assistant, or you might be using Firebase, or Analytics, or Dialogflow. So all this is part of the Google Cloud ecosystem. So even if you're using a Google Maps, for example, if you're building some application where you're using the maps for navigation or things like that, that is also part of a Google Cloud platform. Then you have Google Cloud as an individual platform infrastructure. Then you have your G Suite, your Sheets, Drive, Calendar, everything. So this entire ecosystem. So it helps you connect with everything. So that becomes it gives you very seamless experience for your application. Google Cloud also has a region in India. So how it does help. So for example, like just to give an idea what region is, there's a cloud are basically what, like a VPS, or the machines, right? The hardware or the servers. So the servers are located in different regions across the world. The GCP has different regions, but they also have a region in India, and it definitely helps improve the latency from 20% to 90%. That means your app can be as fast as 90% compared to other regions if you host. In India, they have 3 zones. Also, you can pay in rupees, so you don't have to worry about the credit cards, or you don't have to worry about dollars and all. You can pay in rupee. Just to give you some specifications, to select the India region, you have to select region Asia South 1. When you go into Google Cloud Platform, when you select when you create, let's say you're creating an instance, you need to select the region as Asia South 1. And then there are new zones coming up in Delhi. So this zone is in Mumbai. There is one more zone coming up in Delhi. So that gives you the faster product. So just to give you an example, like for example, we have this platform called Avaz.com. It's an audio OTT platform. It's a podcast platform where you can stream audio, and now that platform is kind of available across multiple platforms. So it's available on web, it's available on Android, it's available on iOS, it's also available on iOS, which is the Geo feature phone, the 1500 rupees phone. It's available on Indus OS, Fire Stick, Geo set-top box, and there are multiple endpoints: Amazon Alexa, Ola Play, Airtel, Spotify, and other. So just one application available across multiple platform and multiple devices, the Google Cloud platform makes it much more easier. So if you see on the right hand side, you can see there what are the components which are being used. So there is a Kubernetes engine, there is an app engine, there is a cloud CDN, which is very important because there is audio being streamed and there are millions of streams coming every day. So that is also very important. Then there's a cloud storage, then you have Cloud SQL, then you have Cloud Functions, BigQuery to get more better analytics. Then you have Firebase and Cloud DNS. So all these components are being used to make this Avaz platform available across multiple endpoints. May it be mobile, may it be TV, may it be Alexa device, or may it be some other third-party apps like Caravan or Spotify. That's all possible with single platform. So you can understand how the robust platform is. Like when we started, we had only 1,000 users, and now we have 4 million streams coming every day. So the cloud has the capability to scale from 1,000 streams to 4 million streams a month. So that kind of platform that you get, which helps you scale your product. It's very important when you're building a product. You should always think of the scale. I've seen a lot of people and developers do this mistake. When they build a product, they don't think of that what will happen if there is there is a scale. And we have seen this in past, in COVID times, the lockdown times. There are a lot of applications got banned, and then suddenly there are very Indian applications where the sudden rush came and this application started crashing. And they couldn't take the advantage of the new users that they were getting and the opportunity that had, because their infrastructure, their architecture was not ready to cope up with millions of users coming suddenly on your platform. But if you are using and if you have right cloud strategy on place, definitely this is much easier, and you don't have to worry much about these things. Now, when we talk about Google Cloud platforms, what are the major? So there are multiple components that are there, but the major component is compute, storage, AI, and data and analytics. Now, these are the 4 components that you should think of when you are building your project or when you're building your product. What kind of compute power need, what kind of storage you need, what kind of AI services or AI module that you are going to build or you're going to need. And then, of course, everything that you build has data and analytics to it, right? Now, today it's all about data and analytics. So you should have a proper, robust data and analytics solution or thought for it, even if you don't build it now, but you should have that thought in your mind. Now, when we talk about compute, there are different compute engines which are available on GCP. Like for example, there is an app engine. Now, app engine, which is a platform as a service, which gives developer access to the Google scalable hosting. So you can just use the SDK to develop product and run it on the app engine. It's very easy to start using. You also have compute engine. Computer is offered as a infrastructure as service, where you can create your own virtual machine instances for your workload hosting, and you can customize and configure it the way you want, how much RAM you want, how much memory, and how much space you want. That's all customizable. And then there is a storage as well. Now, cloud storage has multiple storage options available. So you would have seen, there is an option to host NoSQL data store, and then you can also have, Cloud SQL for MySQL, which is a fully relational storage. You have Google's native cloud big table database as well, which there is also Google Container Engine, which is a management and orchestration system for Dockers and containers that runs within Google's public cloud. So it gives you the and that is based on the Google's Kubernetes container orchestration engine. So that gives you to build a robust microservice architecture as well. Apart from that, as we talk, that AI is very important and it plays a very crucial role in building great products for India. So how we can do it? Like there are AI components available, like called Vision AI Translate API, which can translate between languages. And we know in India there are different languages available, like for example, and then you have natural language, text to speech, speech to text, which helps you convert your text into human voice. And and if you can, and what kind of use cases you can think of. So let's say you have to derive some insights from images on the cloud, so you can use AutoML vision that will see, or you can use pre-trained vision API as well. So so you can detect emotions, understand the text, and so on using the vision API. Same with speech to text supports. There are 125 global languages which are supported, and there are 11 Indian languages also which are supported into this speech to text module API. In text to speech, there are 220 voices, different voices available across 40 languages and variants. So you can try that as well. This is very fun and it's very easy to use. If you go to Google Cloud Console, you can start using them, and it's very easy. Now, there's one major component that I really wanted to talk about is Cloud AutoML. Now, what this Cloud AutoML is? Now, Cloud AutoML is a suite of machine learning and product that enables developers with limited machine learning expertise to train high quality models specific to their business needs. It relies on Google's state of art transfer, machine learning and neural architecture, and the search technology. So, in simple way, if I say you can create your own custom machine learning models with an ease of use, and you can use the graphical user interface to build it. It's that easy. You don't have to worry about the complicated machine learning algorithms and TensorFlow and things like that. You can start using this product and you can start building your own ML modules. So why would we go for AutoML? So you can train your custom machine learning models, and you can just set up and start using it. It's very fast. You don't have to wait for months to train your model. You can get up and running, start using it, and you can generate high quality data, training data as well, because training data is very important for any machine learning model to work. So you can use this simple graphical user interface to train, evaluate. You can improve and deploy models based on your data. You only have it takes only few minutes to kind of build this custom machine learning model. Google also has a human labeling service which put a team of people to work on annotating and cleaning your labels, but that's like enterprise service, so it's a paid service by Google. What are the products which are available and we are part of AutoML? So there is AutoML Vision, which you can use. There is AutoML Video Intelligence, which can analyze your video. You can just use the API and put your training data, and it can give you detect objects from your video, colors. Like for example, if there is video, you want to find how many red cars are there in the entire video, you can use that. There have been use cases where you would have seen the movies. You see this. There is this. There are smoking scenes, and where you label it, like when there is a smoking, there has to be a label called smoking is injurious to health. So Video Intelligence API can detect those smoking scenes, and we can build a code where you can label those scenes using the Video Intelligence API. There is a natural language API which is very important. You can use it for so speech to text and speech to speech. There is a AutoML translation, AutoML AutoML table is very interesting. We don't have time, but there could be entire session only on AutoML tables. You can look into it. It's very interesting, where you can create your AI model using your database or data tables that you have, like the normal SQL tables. So in a nutshell, how does this AutoML works? It's very easy and simple. You can just put your training data to AutoML, and entire training, deployment, and server is taken care by the AutoML. So you don't have to worry about the training, how you train, how you deploy, and how you how you serve you this thing. This entire thing is taken care by AutoML, and it generates the prediction with the REST API. So you can use those API in your application, and then you can easily start building your own machine learning models. I just wanted to show you this one interesting case study which was built using AutoML, where we all see sports and cricket. I'm sure you must be. So this AutoML, what it does is actually predicts that the fall of wicket before 2 or 5 minutes. That's really interesting, right? How can you predict that there will be fall of wicket after 2 minutes or after 5 minutes? But this AutoML model was built, and it did predict that. So let me just show you this small demo or case study.
Absolutely brilliant. What an advertisement for the game.
Great. So, this is how it was built. It was called Project Monty because the first wicket it was Monty Panesar. So that's why it was called Monty. And what it used to do is it took, using the AutoML, they built a training data set, and using training data, they used to predict that there is a chances of wicket within next 4 or 5 minutes or within next over or something like that. So that sort of models can be built using AutoML. So, and it's all GUI, so you don't have to, very less code, and you just use this tool and start using it. So it is really as simple as that. There was one question about the certification also, so let me also, since you guys are student, of course, like after studying, you would be looking for a career in clouds. I'm sure you would be wondering that what kind of opportunities are there as a student, or in future if you're looking cloud as a career. So before that, before we get into that opportunities, there are certain certifications available, like associate certifications, professional certification. There's a G Suite certification also available, and then there is a Google Developer as a certification. But these associate and professional certifications are very important. So you can look for this certification. There is a link I have given, which is called cloud.google.com/certification. You will see list of certifications which are available. There is a solution, there is architecture, and then there is a professional cloud solution certified architect and data analytics. So there are certain certifications that are available for data as well. So you can look for those certification as well. These certifications, why are they important? Of course, these are important because you get to learn in depth about this, and it gives and adds a little bit of credibility in your in your resume when you go out in the market, and also it gives you opportunity to explore. So certificate, I usually feel that certification is one opportunity where you kind of push yourself to study. Otherwise, if we just as a student, if we really just have to study, sometime we don't get that much serious about certain topics, especially when they are not part of the academics. So this certification really encourages you to do something and achieve something. And as a part of DSC and the developers ecosystem, there are certain offers and discount codes which keep on coming, so you can actually connect with your DSC lead, where there are opportunities where Google brings a lot of this certification for free, or there are a lot of quick labs which comes for free, or at a discounted price. So you really can be in touch with your DSC lead, and they can probably give you more information about this. Now, talking about the opportunities, of course, this is very important. Being a student, we always want to know that if I'm learning some technology, what kind of opportunities, or what kind of career I can look for. So that's where there are opportunities as a cloud architecture. It's very much in demand right now, because we know like everything is moving digital, and especially after COVID thing, a lot of digital transformation has happening at different level in enterprises, in small companies, or in startups as well. And when you say it's all remote and it's all happening online. What is the one backbone of this entire remote or online thing is the cloud, because the infrastructure has to be remotely accessible. That's what we call it as a cloud. So the cloud architecture designers are very much in demand right now. They are getting good pays. Of course, not only in Google, but there are AWS certified engineers and Azure certified engineers as well are in much demand. So I'm not saying that you just have to be a Google certified developer, but whatever that platform that interests you, you should look. But overall, as a cloud, there are huge opportunities. There is opportunity as a cloud software engineer, cloud engineer. Then there's a cloud sales executive, cloud system administrator, cloud consultant, cloud DevOps person, cloud network engineer, and then there are endless possibilities. And now there are sub services which are like the AI expert, or the ML lead, or there is a data scientist, and all this is part of, if you want to really get into all these kind of tones, you just have to do first thing is understand the cloud technology, learn more about it. And how we can learn more about it is there are documentations and free tutorials available from Google. So if you want to know anything about Google Cloud, what kind of products which are there, what kind of tutorials are available, you can just go through these links. There is a blog, there is a podcast, GC podcast, very interesting podcasts are available there. You can listen to those and get some the really interesting discussions about the latest product, latest technology, and the latest use cases also. You can just go through some of the interesting use cases like the one we saw, and it will give you a lot of insights on that. So yeah, this is so I've really kept it short, and so this is all about the cloud. I will take some questions, and then probably we can end wherever the organization is. But if you want to reach me, you can reach me on Twitter, or you can reach me on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions related to cloud, voice, audio, we'll be happy to help. Yeah. So I'll just stop this and I'll take some questions. Yeah. Okay. So, are there any certification offered by GCP apart from GD which could be useful? Yeah. So, Anubhav, I have already, I think, answered your question, and that could be useful to you. Again, there are multiple certification, as I said, which are available. We can look into it, and then we'll get. Yeah, you had a quick labs. Yeah, quick lab is very interesting way and easy way to learn. That really helps. There is one more question. Does GCP provide special offers benefit to small scale companies or startup? Yes. So Google has something called as Google for Startup program, where they give you Google Cloud credits. Of course, I forgot to mention about the cloud credits. You get a lot of cloud credits if you are part of any of the other program. There is a Google for Startups. Then where they give you $20,000 as the initial credit, and then there are layers. Based on usage, they commit up to $100,000 of cloud credit. So that's available. There are not special benefits as such for available for students, but yeah, when you sign up, you get $300 free. And then if you see, Google has free tier for all their most of their products. So if you want to try something, you might not even have to pay any amount. So we can be within the free tier limit, and you can use all the products. Like for example, there is a compute instance, or there is a storage. All these products has some kind of free tier limit. So if you're using within, like you want to try something, you can be within your limit, free limit, and you don't have to pay anything. Yes, so that's one thing that's possible. So for trying, you can try this, and you also have $300 credit to start with. And usually you can probably connect with your DSC leads, where there are certain cloud credits which are usually given by the Google developers or DevRel team, but I'm not sure whether they are for students. But for startups and enterprise, yes, there are some credits which are given. Nimish has one question: how do you market your cloud product in such apprehensive market? Yes. So Nimish, see, I'll tell you something. Google Cloud also has its own in-house store. So within the cloud, there is a store where you can, let's say, building some solution, you can put that in your cloud store, and anyone who is using Google Cloud Platform can actually use it. There is a huge market for G Suite, which is the Gmail, the enterprise Gmail applications, and there are tons and tons of companies who have built G Suite based application. They are making good money. So there are marketplace within the products, like G Suite has its own marketplace for G Suite related applications. Google Cloud has it, so you can sell your products over there also. The general public is very skeptical about the privacy concerns. We hear news about data breaches and cloud companies. Yes, so yeah, for that only, I said like there are regions, Google Cloud regions available in India, so you don't have to worry about the privacy and security because it's all compliant by the Indian government law. Apart from that, Google works very strongly with in terms of security. So yeah, there are chances of you know data theft that is usually because your application might not be simple, but there I haven't heard anything that that cloud, because of the cloud some data got stolen or some security. And since like I'm sorry, but since we are into digital world, so privacy is something that I really don't know how much privacy we have when we are connected. So not that, but yes, of course there are certain tools specific which are available for to concern about your privacy. There are certain rules, the compliances like GDPR and all, and cloud is very much part of it. So we really don't have to worry so much about it unless the company is trying to use those data and misuse it, right? So that's pretty much possible. Is there any specific advantage of using GCP over cloud providers like AWS and Azure? Uh, so yeah, I mean, and how these choices are made. So the tech companies decide based on the usage and based on the requirements. So for example, there are certain products which are good in AWS. Let's say if you're enterprise and you are running, your system or you're using a legacy system which is built in AWS, Microsoft technology like .NET, then probably you would go for Azure. If you are building on, or if you're looking for some advanced AI tools which are very great in GCP, or if you're building some voice-based product, or as I said, the entire ecosystem comes as a part of GCP, like Firebase, your analytics, AI, and data studio, everything is part of this. So if you want that kind of product, then GCP is much better than anything else. So depending on what kind of use cases or the product goal that you have, you can decide the product. I'm not saying one is good and one is bad, but everyone has their own USPs. So based on which fits your bill, you can probably and again cost. So cost wise, if you see GCP is comparatively cheaper than other platforms. So if you are worried about cost, then probably GCP is one option that you have. Uh, yeah, Adi. So I think this answers your question as well, that how you differentiate between GCP and AWS based on your product and the that infrastructure or tools that you are required. You can decide your product. So if it fits on AWS, you can go for AWS, or GCP is also good, right? So I think I have covered most of the questions. And if you have any more questions, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter. And I think we are good to end here.
Yes. Thank you so much, Rushabh. It was amazing having you with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Somi.
Yeah, so that concludes our opening ceremony of Winter of Code by DSC IIIT Kalyani. And I'm sure that all the participants and all the mentors are really excited to get to know each other through the community bonding phase, which is till 20th. So get excited and start communicating and having fun with open source. Thank you.